You are ready to start a new chapter in your math book today. And in that chapter, we are going to be learning all about the numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We are going to learn to count objects with those numbers in the set. We are going to learn to write those numbers, and we are going to learn what a 10 frame looks like that represents those numbers. But before we get started, today we're going to work on 6 and 7, and I'm going to show you a quick video to get you started thinking about counting objects with 6 and 7.
Numbers 6 and 7. Matthew Can-Do is having a party to celebrate the number 6 and the number 7, and you are invited. Look at these pretty presents Matthew wrapped. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 presents. Matthew Can-Do just let go of the balloons. Let's count how many balloons are floating in the air. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 balloons floating in the air. Here is a row of pretty bows for us to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 bows. Something is missing. These bows need presents. We can draw a box to look like a present around each of the bows. How many boxes did you draw? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 presents. Here is a row of balloons. Let's count them too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 balloons. Something is missing. These balloons need strings. We cannot hold on to a balloon without a string. We can draw a string for each balloon. How many strings did we draw? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We drew 7 strings.
All right, now that you are thinking about 6 and 7, I need you to get out pages 93 and 95 in your math workbook because we're going to take a look at it. This is page 93 that you see on the screen. That's page 93. And I know that some of you had counters or cubes that were sent home and some didn't. So I'm just going to use pennies because everybody's got some pennies laying around to use as counters. And on the first plate, I'm going to count how many pennies are on my plate. And I'm just going to use the count and touch strategy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 pennies on that plate. I'm going to go ahead and start moving those down into my 10 frame to build that 10 frame. And that's what it looks like. Before this, we'd only seen a 10 frame that had that first row filled in. And now, for number 6, we have one on the bottom row too. So the whole top row is filled up and one on the bottom. That's a 10 frame that shows the number 6. So let's take a look at the other plate. And this time I think I'll use the count and scoot strategy of counting. So I'm going to kind of scoot to keep track of what I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 pennies on that plate. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to move them down into my 10 frame, making sure that I fill up the first row first, starting at the left and going right, just like I do when I read, right? And that's what a 10 frame looks like that represents the number 7. There are 7 pennies there. So I want to take a look at page 95 with you. And we're going to do this one together. So you're going to need page 95, and you are going to need a blue crayon and a red crayon. Let's see if I can get it into focus here. Well, maybe. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Looks like we're having a party, just like in the video that you just watched. There are some party blowers and hats and plates. So what we're going to do is I am going to take a penny and I'm going to cover up the blowers with a penny. Each one is going to get its own penny, and I'm going to match those so that each one has its own. Now each one of those blowers is covered up by a penny. Like I said, you could use cubes or you can use counters, whatever it is that you have, or you can do what I'm doing and you can use pennies. You can make your own counters. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of scoot those pennies over, and okay, we have filled up that top row. We have a penny for all of those in the top row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those pennies and I'm going to color that top row red. All right, so I'm going to show we've already had 5 pennies that I've moved, right? For the 5 blowers that have the pennies on them. And then I have one more. And so when I move that one, I am going to only color that box, and I'm going to color it blue. All right? And if you need to stop and pause the video for a second while you catch up and you color in, you can do that, because we have a 10 frame that shows 6, and we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blowers, little party blowers. All right? Like I said, if you need to stop the video to get caught up, just push pause, and when you're ready, we'll count the hats together. All right? All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a penny on each one of these hats. It's kind of hard to do because they're kind of big. That's all right. All right, now I have a penny for each hat that's up there, and I can kind of start moving them over to the 10 frame until I get that first row filled up with 5. And then I have 5, so I'm going to take those pennies away, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color that first row again, and I want to color it red. I know I'm not doing my best coloring, and I'm leaving a lot of white spaces, but for the sake of speed, I'm going to do it this way. And then I have a couple more pennies left over, and so I'm going to give them their own box right here. So I'm going to need to color in 2 boxes blue for each one of those pennies. So without even counting the party hats, you can look and see what number is represented on your 10 frame, right? That's what number 7 would look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Absolutely. All right, we've got some party plates down here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Like I said, if you need to get caught up, all you have to do, pause the video. These almost fit perfectly, right? These are almost the plates are about the same size as the penny. All right, so now I have all my plates covered up, 1 penny for every plate that is on my paper. And so I am going to try to make sure that it's nice and straight on there. I am going to start moving my pennies over until I get that top row filled up with 5 pennies, right? Oh, there's my 5. I'm going to take those away, and I'm going to color in that whole top row with red. Because that was 5 pennies, and we know that if you have the whole top row covered, then that is 5 also. And then I've got some leftovers here that didn't fit in the top row. I can move them down here to the bottom row. And now I have 2 pennies. So when I move those, I am going to color in the boxes. And there. Now, without even counting, you can look at the 10 frame for what the number it represents. And we know that if you have the whole top row and 2 more on the bottom, that 10 frame represents the number 7. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 plates. 7 plates. All right, you are going to be practicing doing the same thing on pages 97 and 98 in your math workbook. When you are all finished with those, please upload them to Schoology so I can see what great work you've been doing.